Blessings, Sacred Space community. This is Sacred Wisdom Wednesdays. Thank you guys for tuning in every Wednesday on IGTV as well as YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube station, the Sacred Space community. And I had recorded earlier today, and I just didn't like the recording. If you guys have been traveling this journey with me, I'm very spirit fed. I'm very spirit led. And if spirit doesn't command me to share something with you guys, you won't see me expound upon it. It may be something short, a small caption, a one-liner, and I keep it moving. Otherwise, it really has to be on my spirit to share something. And today I was thinking about when women don't take care of themselves, when we don't incorporate self-care into our routine, when we are struggling mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, and financially, we become abusive to our children. We become neglectful to our children. We dismiss our own needs. We dismiss our children's needs. We become impatient and intolerant. We become aggressive. We become verbally and mentally and emotionally abusers. I don't even have a better word for it. When we aren't taking care of ourselves, we transfer this toxic, negative energy within us onto our children. All of the judgments that we pass, that we feel about ourselves, we pass those judgments on to our children. When we are struggling to take care of our children, they end up receiving these mixed messages, and it becomes a very downward spiral. It almost creates a relationship like the woman who is with a man who is neglectful and abusive and physically abusive. The child loves you, but the child also fears you. They don't know what state of mind you will be in. They don't know if they're going to get loved today, or if they're going to be punished, if they're going to be hurt, if you're going to be aggressive, if you're going to be nasty, if you're going to demean them, if you're going to belittle them, or are you going to nurture them. And when you aren't nurturing yourself, you aren't nurturing your children. Let alone, especially if you are a new mom, if you are breastfeeding, just even carrying your child through your pregnancy, you're transferring that energy into your breast milk. You transfer that energy when you cook for your children, when you clean, when you wash, when you want to go out to eat. All of that energy is transferred onto your children, and you have to be mindful when you are transferring negative energy, when you are frustrated and you're taking that frustration out on your children, especially when they're small babies and they can't communicate the same way, they can't use their voice the same way, when they are seeking out your attention and love. And because poverty and a lack of self-care almost go hand in hand to some degree. It's not across the board. Let me be clear. It's not across the board at all. But when you are not taking care of yourself and you are struggling financially and you are spiritually bankrupt, you don't realize that you become very abusive to your children. What you are so constantly caught up in thinking about is, how am I going to pay the next bill? You know, I'm trying to make these decisions from a place of despair, and you can't make healthy decisions from a place of despair. You can't take care of your children from a place of spiritual bankruptcy. You can't take care of your children when you are exhausted. You can't take care of your children when you aren't nurturing and loving on yourself and spending time with yourself and empowering yourself and motivating yourself and loving yourself. You end up abusing your children. One, because you need a break, and you haven't had a break, a mental break, an emotional break, a spiritual break. And people will say to you in a society where you're a mom and you don't get to get a break, you know, motherhood, you have to be a mom, like you're on at all times. And that's so far from the truth. I encourage you to reach out to your girlfriends and ask for help. I encourage you to reach out to your mom, your dad, your sisters, your cousins, your community of sisters. Somebody is there to create balance in your life. Even if you're married or you have a mate, if you are not getting the rest, the proper rest and diet and time away that you need, you will eventually transfer this energy onto your babies. Let go, baby. And you know, it's just one of those things that we have to learn to accept, that when we don't take care of ourselves, we aren't good to our children. And when you're constantly operating out of this place of lack and frustration and worry and stress and doubt, and you so caught up in, you know, a toxic relationship, you don't even get it. You don't get it, sis. You don't get it, sis. You don't get it, sis. Your babies are watching and they're receiving this energy. They're receiving these messages. They're making these agreements, these silent agreements. Every time you say and you behave as though you ain't nothing, they believe it about themselves. They believe it about you. The messages become very clear to them at some point. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. She can't take the time off to spend with me. You know, those toxic messages that we pass on to our children that we don't realize we pass on to our children because we're so trying to get to the first of the month. We're trying to get to the next food stamp date. We're trying to get to the next paycheck. We're trying to get through a breaking of a relationship. We're trying to heal our wounds from past relationships. We're trying to heal the wounds from our childhood. We're trying to mother and deal with life and deal with the past, all of this at the same time. And it's not easy. But the moment that you decide you are worthy of loving yourself and taking care of yourself, and you carve out that time for self-care, you will begin to be able to flow a new breath of life into yourself, but into your babies. You will be able to break generational cycles. You will be able to cut cords. You will be able to disconnect from things that are dysfunctional and toxic for you. Otherwise, you're going to have to accept the fact that you are not the greatest mom you think you are when you're not taking care of yourself. You are not a good mom if you aren't taking care of yourself. And I'm not talking about providing and buying Jordans for your kids and new school clothes and Christmas gifts and all of that jazz. I'm talking about the mental and emotional and energetic and spiritual connection. The physical connection that you have to yourself is the same that you have to your children. And if you are not connected to yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, you are not connected to those babies. Oh, I want you to take the time out to really get honest with yourself. What relationship do I have with me? And how does that reflect upon how I take care of my children? Am I so caught up in this toxic relationship that I don't understand and I don't see how this relationship with this man is affecting my son, affecting my daughter? This job, the baggage from this job is affecting myself. It's affecting my children. It's affecting my family. It's affecting my relationships. It's poison. If it doesn't lift you higher, if it doesn't empower you, if it doesn't motivate you, if it doesn't encourage you, if it doesn't inspire you, it's poison. And I'm asking you today to empty yourself of all things that do not serve your highest good and start over. Because those babies deserve you to be your best self. They deserve the love and affection and everything that you say you didn't get. It's time that you give it to yourself so that you could give it to your children. And I'm not talking about clothes and shoes and money. I want you to tune in mentally and emotionally to where are you vibrating at. If you're vibrating on a low frequency, that is the energy, that is the time, and that is the space that you are giving to your space you are creating for your children. This is Sacred Wisdom Wednesdays. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday. I don't know what time, it's just when the spirit gets on me. Subscribe to our YouTube station as well as subscribe to the mailing website, www.thesacredspace.network. This is The Sacred Space, where sisterhood and intimate conversation ignites spiritual transformation. I am Tara Jackson.